Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today, we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse. Her bomb drop is December 30th, 2022, and her date of marriage is 2010. And I apologize, I'm sick, so I am going to try and sound as best as I can. She has a clinging boomerang, and she's not yet familiar with the energy type terms yet. She says, my MLCer was diagnosed with MS 2 years ago. We also lost our, I'm assuming it says 2.5-year-old because it says 2/1, 2.5-year-old daughter to a terminal disease 7 years ago. Did I say marriage of 2010? If I didn't. He is a clinging boomerang, and I'm at a loss as to how to deal with him. He moved out a month ago, and he has an emotional affair partner. I'm not sure if the affair is physical because she's also married with 4 children. She was a friend, and my husband used to be her youth leader at our old church. I've been keeping smart contact, but for the past 3 weeks he's been super flirty with me. He's been calling me again by my pet name. So I also get sweet physical things he would do when we were dating and hugging me super tight anytime he drops off our son or he has an opportunity. I got a lot of that tight hugging. It was that fear of losing me. It's not uncommon. I reciprocate. I like that. Right now, that's good. But here's my question. Where should I draw the line? I'm sure he's still in a relationship with the emotional affair partner, and everyone around me tells him to go no contact, but tells me to go no contact, but I know it's not wise. I agree with you. With a but. I agree with you, or with an if. If you are on your way to being healed and feel like you're emotionally stable and strong. Now, you're not healed. That takes a long time. And your bomb drop was only in December. And this is the end of December, like almost the last day. And we're at the first week of April. So it's just 3 months. These are raw early days. But if you are able to handle contact with him, yes, I want you to have contact with him. I want you to be rebuilding or shoring up the foundation of your relationship, of your us, of your friendship, of your marriage, of everything. So where should you draw the line? This is an emotional affair partner, possibly. We don't know if it's physical. And that can be subjective, can't it? So I'm going to tell you how I handled it. In Chuck's affair, it was technically an emotional affair to start. And I sometimes don't like it calling that because this was an emotional affair where they had an intention of being physical. They had an intention that he was leaving me to be with her. And they were just waiting until that he'd left. She even said she was waiting till divorce was filed. Sometimes she said he was divorced. They didn't wait, but there was the intention that she was stealing him from me, basically. Oftentimes, emotional affairs, they don't know that. They don't get it. Why does my spouse have such a problem with my friend? And they really don't have an intention, even though it's a slippery slope and they don't recognize it. Or they do recognize it, but there's still not the intention, and so they think they're going to control it. So if it's that kind, or not, or if it's physical or not, you might not be able to tell. I could tell when it became physical because Chuck told me, you will know when I am with her. That's how he said it. I am with her because I won't be with you anymore. And that was how it worked. So it was there were some clear dynamics. But what I did was I made a choice that I was going to build back the foundation. And I did it intentionally. I probably still use that language, foundation. I wanted to build back us. I wanted to get those bonding chemicals going again if we had lost any of them. So it was a period of hypersex. Usually he initiated. And he was right. As soon as he was with her, that stopped. And I could feel it. The last time we were together, I could sense that that was it. And that within a week he was with her then. The writing was on the wall. But up until that time, since I had the idea and the belief that he wasn't physical with her, I let it go sexually. I said, yeah, whatever. Now, I could have been wrong. I know that I wasn't only now because they had a discussed anniversary date. But often in this sort of situation, you don't know that date, and you don't know they were physical. So you have to determine what your boundary is on that. Because, yeah, my boundary was not when he's with her physically, but I didn't have to hold to that boundary because that was also a boundary he had with his serial monogamy. What I want is for you to be able to have regular contact and communication. So not just communication, but contact with him. As you are able to handle it, as you are thriving, as you are detaching, as you are healing. You need to be at a level where you are healed enough, because MLCers, especially clinging boomerangs, give mixed messages because they're mixed up. And that keeps us cycling and spinning. It keeps us emotionally unstable. We're afraid because they're going to say, well, if you don't see me, you're going to ruin it. You need to see me. That's how we would reconcile. They hold the carrot of reconciliation out. Don't bite that carrot because they don't know what it takes. But at the same time, right now, in the beginning, because later on, you're going to have to take this away. At least you are if this affair goes toward a physical affair, and especially an affair down and one of attachments and limerence. You're going to need to have this foundation built if you can. And you're going to have your strength, and you're going to give him more space then. MLC gets worse before it gets better. So I want you focusing on what you need to do now, if you can, because you're stable enough to be there for him and be there in an empathetic way, meeting some of his needs, meeting some of your needs. And when those don't meet your needs, what he needs from you, don't do it. That's your line. So this, I feel like I'm disrespecting myself. I'm not going to do that. And you can even say it that way to him. You know what? I understand you would like this from me, but I feel like I'm crossing a line personally for me. So it's not a punishment for him. And you can say it. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm not trying. It's a little too much for me right now, and I'm a little too emotional. This has been a lot of change in our lives. And yeah, I still want you. I still want you here in my life. But I need to heal myself, and I need to be stronger so that I can handle what you're throwing out at me. I'm not throwing anything out at you. Well, it feels that way to me. I'm sorry that you feel and you're not aware of it. And he is showing a lot like that super tight hugging. That makes me think of the time, and Chuck had probably been home and out. He moved in and out several times. And I think it was on a time when he was starting to lean out again. It was clear that he was going to be leaving. At night, while unconscious and sleeping, he would roll over and grab me. One time I almost couldn't breathe, and I was like, oh my God, I can't get out of this. But he kept, sometimes it was just holding my hand or arm, but sometimes it was like there was this tight bear hug. He was showing his fears. And he was showing some of his self that he really didn't want to lose me. And that tight hug, it comes with that. You are getting some validation of what he wants. That he wants you to be there. He doesn't want you to go away. He wants that solid anchor. But if you're not that solid anchor, if you're not stable, then you can't be that until you are. So focus on doing what you need to heal yourself. You also have a son. I didn't have kids at the time. You still have your son, and he might not be able to handle it. So it needs to be not only what you can handle and your strength, but his as well. Because this is traumatic on children. And I want you to be a stable force for your son, but also be a stable force for you and your husband. And yeah, it's a tightrope. You're going to balance it, and you're going to fall off, and you get back on. Do what you can. So you might need a no contact. But in this period now, at the beginning, no contact is brief. And the purpose of it isn't to punish him. It's because you're just cycling emotionally, and you need some time to heal. And so what you do for a no contact now in this period is, you know what? I need you not to contact me for. Then you give a definitive time period from now until, and it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Don't go more than 6. That's a lot. Excuse me. I would start with 3 or 4. And then you can say, and after 3 weeks, and you can even give a date. You may contact me to see if I am ready. Then you are allowed to extend it if you need to. Or you could give a definitive end date. But the allowing you to extend it is a new thing I've added because sometimes we're not really ready after 3. What if we were better at 5 weeks? Say, you may contact me and. Now, what this typically means with the clinging boomerang is they're calling you and you're not answering. And you can say, yeah, you can contact me for emergencies. Emergencies are if you're in the hospital with a heart attack. You might have to have some level of contact for your son, but see if you can get somebody else to help mediate, that sort of thing. Unless your son is old enough, I don't know that he is from what you've talked about kid exchanges. You need to have, if you go no contact, it needs to be as no as you can, with strong rules around that. And if he's not having visitation regularly, you might be able to do it 3 weeks without it. And say you can put a schedule up for how he contacts him, and then he contacts him on his own. My dad called, and I answered the phone, and I talked to my dad, weekly, maybe multiple times a week. My mom didn't have to answer the phone, that sort of thing. So you can put it scheduled in. Maybe your son has FaceTime, and it's on a schedule. And when that FaceTime happens, don't be in camera range or even in vocal range. He has to be no contact from you. MLCers that are clinging boomerangs try to contact. So the boundary is really yours to keep, not theirs. They're going to try to break it. And that's your challenge. And it is a boundary for you, just so that you can heal. And that's a reassurance you can give him. I just need it because I'm just kind of spinning with all that's going on, and I need some time and some space for myself. It's not because I'm mad at you. That's the reassurance you give to them. Now, later on, it becomes a different kind of boundary, but that could be years later. I did it in year 3. And that was, you're being an inappropriate spouse. The reason he was being inappropriate because he was having an affair, and every time he left me, he actually moved in with her. So it wasn't something, he didn't even deny it by then, because we both knew he wasn't going to live anywhere else. We couldn't afford a separate place, and he refused to ask friends or family to stay, if he could stay there when he left our house. So the only reason he even left was to be with her and move in with her. And so he knew. He had an exit clause type of no contact. You may contact me when. It was not if. It was when you leave her. When she is out of your life, you've chosen to leave her, contact me. And he did. But that was way in the future when the cake eating was at a higher level. Right now, you don't even know if it's an emotional affair or a physical affair. And you're going to have to figure out what your boundary is on that and sex. My boundary was I wanted to build all the chemicals and do everything I could in those first few months because I knew I had a limited time period until he really was going to be with her. And I had from March 20th at bomb drop until he was going to move out. He moved out when an apartment became available. We were just waiting for it. And it was the first weekend of May. And he was physical with her the last weekend, May 29th, I believe it was. And so I knew I had that window to whenever it was going to happen. And I needed to do as much within that window as I could, including heal myself. No, you're not done healing, but get myself to a level where I could also work on us and be spending time with him. So you have to do what you can within your abilities. Okay? So work on your healing, work on your detachment. I hope this is helpful, and I'll see everybody in the next question.